A Christchurch man on a hunger strike over his unsettled earthquake claim says he won't eat again until his insurer signs an agreement to settle the matter out of court. Peter Glasson's been on the strike for more than a week and has lost more than 5 kilos. He says his lawyers have been negotiating with his insurer, and while he's signed an agreement to settle out of court, Southern Response hasn't. He says one of the sticking points is a 17th inspection of his property involving up to 13 separate people from 6 companies. Earlier today, he told me how he's feeling, having gone more than a week without food.
Oh, pretty tired actually, Ryan. But no matter how tired I get, I will fight on.
Well, you'll be having a few physical and emotional symptoms, I would imagine. Can you sort of...
Yeah, it's pretty mentally demanding. But I think, Anzac Day's coming up, and I think of my father having fought through the Second World War, the battles against the Germans, and that gives me a lot of strength, knowing that he fought for the rights that we have in this country, or we're supposed to have, and that people shouldn't go through the sorts of things that I'm having to go through now.
What sort of response have you had from Southern Response?
Our lawyers have been negotiating with them to try and reach some sort of process that we can go through that's alternative to the Christchurch High Court. We've been in legal action with them now for 2 years, and the Christchurch High Court has really failed the Christchurch earthquake claimants. It's a long-winded process that Southern Response's lawyers are able to manipulate and delay the process, and it's cost us a huge amount of money, and it's costing all the other claimants a huge amount of money as well.
So are you saying that there could be a settlement on the cards?
It's not a settlement, it's a process to discuss it's a facilitated process that's being put forward, and unfortunately again the Southern Response lawyers are holding up the signing of that process. We've signed an agreement for facilitation, put it through to Southern Response, but their lawyers are holding it up again.
Any idea what they're waiting for?
They're arguing over clauses in the proposed agreement.
Now, Peter, have you got another inspection of your property pending? Is that right?
That's one of the issues that we're arguing about. What happened was in November last year, the Southern Response lawyers stood up in the court and lied to the court about the evidence that we'd submitted to the court. And unfortunately, the judge said that they should have the right for another inspection, and it was simply because they didn't like the evidence that we'd put in reply to their evidence. And so they called it new evidence, and the judge said, oh, okay, it's new evidence.
So you've had 16 inspections already, is that right? Well, what does an inspection involve?
Well, the inspection lasts from anywhere between 2 to 3 hours to a full day on site, and this one that was being proposed for the 17th site inspection was 13 separate people and from 6 different companies, and they would have been there probably for a full day.
Any idea on what they're looking for that the other 16 inspections haven't been able to find?
No, they have already undertaken, just as an example, a drainage inspection of our site, which has said that all our drains should be replaced, and that's a report paid for by them, but they're now arguing that they want another drainage inspection, which I presume will come along and say that there's no problem with our drains. They're very cunning at changing their stance. For instance, they had one engineer then who said we should have repairs done to our property. They then got another engineer who said there'll be no repairs to our property.
So
we've had lots and lots of huge amount of public support, and many of the people coming to our caravan are also Southern Response claimants, and they also have told exactly the same sorts of stories of how the Southern Response lawyers delay the process, and the court, Christchurch High Court, accepts that.
What about your local MP, Peter? Who's that, and have they been helping out in any way?
Well, unfortunately, that local MP is Gerry Brownlee. I don't think I need to say anything more.
So have you had any word from him?
We did seek to have a meeting with him at some stage, but decided it wouldn't be particularly productive. And I think anyone in Christchurch who's had earthquake problems will understand that comment.
Peter,
we've also met with Megan Woods about 4 or 5 months ago, and although she said that she couldn't intervene in individual cases, she has been very positive in putting, since I started the hunger strike, she has been very positive in putting forward the residential advisory service to try and facilitate some sort of breakthrough in this, in my hunger strike.
And how hopeful are you of a resolution anytime soon? Well, we're hoping that Southern Response takes control of their lawyers and signs the agreement that is now on the table before them. And our process for the last 2 years has really been controlled by the Southern Response lawyers rather than Southern Response itself, and we've seen just delay and deceit over those 2 years by their lawyers. Are you hoping this could be resolved in this week? Yes, I am hoping that that's the case, but knowing how the Southern Response lawyers work, I will just continue the hunger strike until someone steps in and takes control of them. What is an ideal resolution for you? Well, the ideal resolution is what's on the table at the moment, is that we go through a facilitated process and away from the Christchurch High Court, and our proceedings would be withdrawn. That would be agreed by Southern Response, and then we would go through a relatively fast-tracked process instead. And it's the kind of process that I'm hoping that may be adopted for other Southern Response claimants to stop the kinds of delays caused by their lawyers. What sort of support are you getting through your hunger strike, Peter? Just getting absolutely massive public support. It's unbelievable. People dropping down bottles of mineral water and getting lots of emails and texts, phone calls from people we've never met before, never heard from before, who are just saying they're giving us their full support because they are also in the same position with Southern Response. So it's not just me. This is a very widespread problem with Southern Response claimants, and it has been for years and years. That was a Southern Response customer and hunger striker, Peter Glasson, speaking with me earlier today. Southern Response wouldn't be interviewed, but in a statement from the CEO, Anthony Honeybone, says its negotiations are continuing. And after 6 o'clock tonight, the former EQC Minister and Mr Glasson's local MP, Gerry Brownlee, tells us what he's been doing to help.